Okie dokie, I believe we are all the way live. Hello and welcome to my graveyard. I'm your host of the evening, the Cemetery Man from Salem, Mass. Always taking names and kicking candy ass. Live in the color here with you on Grande's Graveyard. Welcome back to another edition of the show. And tonight we dive in to the top 10 female performances in horror movie history, ranked from 10 to 1 by yours truly. Yes, this is my own personal list here. So if your favorites aren't on there, don't take it, too personal, obviously, because it's personal to me. So this is just my top 10 favorites list. There are some underrated. There are some that I think definitely would be on anybody's list. And there are ones that I think people would never even think to have on this list. So I'm super excited tonight to talk all things top 10 horror female performances in horror movies, because this is a show that's kind of a long time in the running, because I did a show like this way back in the Flashback Horror Movie Podcast days when I did a show with Don, and we did a top 10 each, just top 10 performances with males included. And I was like, you know what? Let me do top 10 female performances. And I sat down and, man, I was editing and changing this list pretty much from Sunday on until probably late Tuesday. It was a good 2 days of editing this list together and coming up with the ultimate top 10 horror movie performances by female. So I'm super excited here tonight. We got a couple people in the chat already. Miss C is here. Ciao Grande and friends. Welcome. Hope all is well, Miss C. Mateo is here. Ciao Grande. Great top 10 tonight. I have a few names on the top of my head. Kathy Bates, Sissy Spacek, Toni Collette, Linda Blair, Ellen/Elliot Page. Oh, for Hard Candy. Fuck. That's why I did not even think of that. Maybe because, now it's Elliot Page. So I don't know. I guess it wouldn't. I don't know. But that is a great performance. I didn't even think of that one. Sigourney Weaver and Ihi Sheena. Well, I can spoil this. 2 of those names made my list, but I won't say who. And Elliot definitely didn't make it because I actually fucking didn't think. But that's wow, man. Now you got me thinking Hard Candy. That would have been a really good one to have on this list. About time you got a haircut. Yeah, no, I needed one bad, man. I've been interviewing like crazy, so I was like, you know what, we gotta ditch the flow. It was getting a little too long, so we got this new haircut here. It was done by my Russian barber, who is quite a character in and of himself. But I desperately needed a haircut, so I don't know if it's good, if it's bad, if it's ugly, but it was definitely needed, if you will. So I mean, it is neither here nor there. But everybody, we're gonna go from 10 to 1, and we're gonna go into each of these performances, these actresses, what I liked about them, and we're gonna build all the way up to my number 1 slot. If you guys have your own personal top 10 and want to count along, feel free to do that. You definitely can. And we're going to be talking all things female performances in horror. It seemed like we had a lot of people like this video before I even went live. So this is a topic that seemed to be kind of desired in the community. So if you guys want to see more lists like this, if you want to see top 10 male performances or top 10 this, top 10 that, let me know. I'm definitely always all ears to hear what you guys have recommended when it comes to show topics. So that is cool. I'm hoping Piper, Laurie, and Carrie. Okay, well, you can hope in all caps. Hello all. Yeah, welcome. So everybody, cheers to a wonderful, safe, happy, healthy weekend. Everybody, I've got a boring drink tonight, Poland Spring. Well, I guess I shouldn't show the logo, right? I don't want to get sued, but cheers, everybody. Cheers to the ladies tonight. This is the ladies' night, hosted by a man, funny enough. But all right, we're going to get right into the list. Coming in at number 10, Asia Argento in the Stendhal Syndrome. Yes, Asia Argento in the Stendhal Syndrome. This is, I hope Asia Argento Asia Argento is in the top 10, man. Asia made this list. Number 10 here for the Stendhal Syndrome. And, I got to be honest, man, this is one of my favorite performances in the history of the genre. I love Asia Argento in this movie. I think she's just fantastic. And it basically tells the story of she's playing a detective named Anna Manny. And what happens is in the opening scene, she's at this beautiful museum. I know Matteo would probably know the name of the museum. It's basically the Museum of Natural History, but in Italy. And it's super famous, the museum. And basically, It's a gorgeous museum, and it was the first Italian film ever allowed to be shot there. And of course, Argento and Asia go in and shoot the scenes in there. And basically, this movie opens with Asia walking in and out of paintings and being immersed by the art, and it's quite amazing and beautiful of a spectacle opening. It's a gorgeous way to open your film, in my humble opinion. And basically, Asia Argento's character, she comes across Thomas Crutchman's character, and he is this like crazy serial killer slash rapist, and he has his way with her at one point and rapes her, and she becomes a rape victim. And basically, throughout this movie, Asia Argento's performance can kind of be looked at in three different layers, right? She opens up as the beautiful, voluptuous Anna Manny, this kind of middle class woman who is a hard nosed cop slash detective, and she's just beautiful, but you know she also means business. After she becomes a victim of rape, she cuts her hair off, and it's a much more masculine version of the same woman that we've been watching through the beginning. And then towards the third act, she actually starts wearing a blonde wig, trying to reinvent herself and move on from her past traumas. And I gotta say, man, I think this is not only one of the more underrated Argentos, I think it's when it comes to acting performances in an Argento movie, I look no further than Ozzy Argento and Stendhal Syndrome. I think she's fucking tremendous in this movie, because it's also a film too where I look at it and she starts as the protagonist, and as it goes on, she kind of ends as the antagonist. Like, what a unique role for Asia to tackle here, right? Because she had just come off doing Trauma in 1993, which I don't think she's as good in. I really don't think she's as good in Trauma. I think she grew so much more to where you got here, and where she's basically playing the same character, but three different parts of that same character. You know, the confident one, the masculine one, and then the one that's trying to reinvent her whole life and recreate meaning in her life. But at the end of the day, it's also a partially crazy lifestyle that she starts to sort of immerse herself in. And it's quite tragic to kind of see this strong character get weaker and weaker and weaker as this thing goes on. And I think she does a really good job at selling it, in my humble opinion. Brother Thomas here, Mateo is psychic. Yeah, he is, man. That's crazy. It was like right on time. The museum is the Uffizi Gallery in my hometown of Florence. No natural history, but paintings and statues. Yeah, no, absolutely. Sorry, Grande, but I can't stand Asia. Her voice, we have this discussion in the Jallow Night. That's true, yes. And I know they dubbed her over in English for, I know there's some Blu-ray DVD releases where it's not her voice. Of course, I have the Blue Underground Blu-ray edition of this, and I think it's fantastic. I really like her performance in this, but I could totally understand why you wouldn't, have Asia on there. I can understand. Like, I know a lot of people don't think she can act. Like, watch Phantom of the Opera, watch Trauma. Definitely can agree with that. But I think she's really good in this movie, man. Like, and there's certain points where I can drive this home, and certain scenes, examples. There's a great scene where she's discussing her fascination with paintings, and she's discussing with her therapist how she's so immersed by art and how she found herself just walking into the painting. And Argento does these wonderful shots of her literally walking into a painting and the waterfall right by her hair, and her just being kind of mesmerized by this whole thing. And her psychiatrist telling her, listen, you have the Stendhal syndrome. You have this sickness, and, we have to talk weekly and fix things, and you see how this strong character starts to crumble before your very eyes, right? In the beginning, like I said, she's strong, competent. By the middle, she's deteriorating. She becomes, tries to do these self-defense classes with boxing. She does all of these paintings herself. She at one point paints her whole body, all of these different colors, and kind of sits in the fetal position, all sad and depressed, and just reimagining and rethinking and reliving that horrendous night of her life when Thomas Kretschmann raped her. It's really sad to watch this character kind of crumble like a cookie before our eyes. But to me, the scene that drives it home is towards the end, where she is with the psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist is saying, and I know that the guy who raped you is gone. And now that there's someone who murdered your current lover, and we both know who that is, I think. And he's kind of accusing her without saying it, that I know you've lost your mind. I know you've gone crazy, and you murdered the man that you loved as you were trying to move on with your life. and she crumbles and breaks down, and then we cut, and then of course it's a former boyfriend that comes in. Hey, what's going on? He sees all the blood on the walls, and the psychiatrist is dead. And then the cinematographer does a great job, almost similar vein to how the Addams family shot the Angelica Houston character, with just the slit of light on Asia's eyes as she confesses to her craziness and her insanity. And she's crying and breaking down. I did it. A part of him is in me, and I've never moved on from that night. He may have done what he did to me, but I took a piece of him with me, and I may have got my vengeance, but I still have a part of him inside of me. And she's crying hysterically through this slit of light. And in that moment, to me as a viewer, it really, really, really divides how I feel, right? Because I know this was a good woman. You saw her humble beginnings, and then you see her slowly deteriorate. And as the movie fades to black, and the police commissioner and they're all holding her, and she just starts bawling, crying in one of the police lieutenant's arms, you can't help but feel bad. I mean, you can't help but feel awful for her character, even though she did all these horrible things as well. You notice that they were from a state of post-traumatic stress and traumatic experience. I mean, it's so sad to watch. And I think her performance really drives that home. You know, there's so many notches that she had to click here, and she somehow clicked them all. I mean, I love Asia in this movie. I really do. Slasher Fred is here. Welcome, Slasher Fred. My top 10 is Jennifer Salt in the original Suspiria. The theme feels like a ballet. Oh, dude. Can't go wrong with Suspiria. Talia Goodfellas is here. Woo! Hell yeah. Wasn't expecting Aja to make the top 10. I know. I sat down and I had a lot of roles in here, a lot of ones that cycled in, cycled out. So this was hard. I'll be honest. This was not an easy list for me to make, and it went through quite a few drafts. I mean, this wasn't just one draft and I finished. I talked to people about this, and it seemed to be that I just wanted to have her on there because I really thought about it. I was like, let me think. Like, she played three different parts of the same person. She went from pro to antagonist. She goes from sympathetic to evil, but still there's a layer of that first part of her there that you still do kind of feel empathetic. So I don't know. To me, it's a really grand performance in the whole scheme of things. I really like Asia Argento and Stenhall Syndrome. I'm gonna have to stand by this one. Sean Blue Digital's in the house. Happy Thursday, sup everyone. Welcome, Sean Blue Digital. We were talking throughout the week when I was posting the little hints of people that may or may not be on the list, and you were interacting with almost all of them. I know you said you were a fan of Stenhall, so stoked to see you in the house tonight. Welcome, Mernsy, good to see your name, man. Mernsy Movie Mansions here. What up, Grande? Perfect night for a graveyard hang. Stoked to see your top 10 list. Awesome, man. Thank you so much for checking in. I'm super stoked to see you in the chat. Ozzy would most likely be in my top 10. I would say so too. It's funny. It's like people think of Ozzy, from Triple X or Land of the Dead or Trauma or The Phantom of the Opera, movies that she doesn't give as good a performance in. But here, this particular performance, it's one of the only Argento films ever where, as we faded to black, as the credits started to roll, I wasn't really thinking as much from the technical aspect as I was from an acting perspective. I was like, wow, I was like, she can fucking act. Like, that was the first thing I think I said once Stenhall ended. And I was like, wow, like I was just maybe one of the more surprising ones I've ever seen. So definitely one that I was really wanting to get on the list. And I fought for her to be on the list. And here she comes in at the number 10 slot. Ozzy Argento and the Stenhall Syndrome. So we got Ozzy at number 10. Like I said, if you want to count along, let me know your top 10. Feel free. If you agree, you disagree, let me know. It's all good. Let's move on, though, into number 9. It is Ihi Sheena, an Audition from 1999. Absolutely one of the most disturbing performances in the history of horror movies for me here is Ihi Sheena in Audition. And I think this is just such an interesting role to me for a lot of different reasons. Of course, if you don't know the story, the brief story of Audition is basically this man, he loses his wife in the opening scene due to an illness, and it's years and years later. He's kind of fallen on hard times. He's been depressed without a woman in his life, and his son even tells him, hey, Dad, like, why don't you start dating again? Like, I can see you're miserable. Like, go put yourself out there. And the father's kind of afraid to do that. He doesn't want to do that. I don't want to dip my toes in that water. So he talks to his kind of sleazy friend and he says, hey, why don't we set up an audition for like a movie, for a big role in a big movie? And instead of giving them the part, we'll instead have them date you. And hopefully, if you like them, you can go ahead and marry them. And it's a really sick, sadistic kind of plan to get a person a girlfriend. And of course, 30 women come in to audition and they all stand out in particular ways, some in beauty, some in intelligence. But then we meet Ihishina's character, and she walks in with all this white clothing, and she's just, there's something about her that's so girl next door, but at the same time, it's so naturally beautiful and naturally just mesmerizing when you see her on screen for the first time. And he discusses her backstory with her and how she wanted to be a ballerina for years and she couldn't because of a back injury. And she thought about contemplating suicide because that was really all she ever wanted to do. Was she wanted to be a ballerina. She wanted this grand life of being a dancer, and that was taken from her. And I think he sees in that kind of sadness, that tragic backstory, he sees more attraction to her. And thus he starts taking her on dates, and we can slowly but surely see that she's not what meets the eye. She's kind of crazy. She at points sits in the fetal position waiting for the telephone to ring, kind of rocking back and forth. Creepy, right? Just some creepy ass shit. And even some of the lines when they go out to sit down for dinner and stuff just was really, I wrote it down here. I thought you were a busy man. I don't know you very well. You may think I'm desperate. I was longing for your call, though. I didn't think I would ever see you again. Sorry, I'm pretty excited. Living alone is a hassle, and I have nobody to talk to. You're the first one who is really warm-hearted and tries to accept me and tries to understand who I really am. She opens up. She's really trying to be genuine with him when his ways of going about this relationship, audition, what have you, were anything but genuine. They were sleazy and slimy and greasy and gross of how he went about it. But she's trying to be real with him. And then we learn more about her backstory and how she was abused as a child. And she talks about how she's always, felt unhappy. I never felt unhappy because I've been unhappy all the time. Just sad, just a sad backstory as we learn more and more about this tragic character and her backstory and where she came from. And it's really quite sad as it goes on. But once you realize how crazy this bitch is when you start to become truly horrified by her and the things that she does. I think it's a tremendous performance from top to bottom. Just the way they introduce her, the squeaky white, clean clothing. And I know in white in Japan, the white clothing, that's a symbolism of death. So maybe he should have seen it coming, but something so beautiful and so pure. How could you ever expect something so sinister and so dark and so tragic of a backstory as this character has? And we know she was burned as a child. We see all these things. And you see that the man who tortured her, she in turn tortures him. And Ihishina got so into this role of method acting that there's a scene where she's preparing lunch for this guy that she has captive in this little bag. And it's a bowl of dog food. You see she sticks the fingers down her throat to throw up in the bowl. That was real throw up. That was real vomit. She was such a method actress that she threw up in the bowl for real. And this actor, unbeknownst to him, ate her vomit and had no fucking idea that it was her vomit. That's how dedicated Ihishina was to this role. I mean, that's fucking crazy. This bitch vomited for real. And this guy ate it for real. It didn't know, but that's how crazy she was. I mean, and that's the type of actress that should be working with a Takashi Miike. I mean, Takashi Miike is one of the best horror filmmakers of all time, and that guy knows how to go from sick to disturbing just like that, in a snap, in a flash, in a blink of an eye. And that's why I love her performance in it, man. It's a great, great, great performance. But let's get to comments. I see we got a ton of them. I think we were, oh, wow. No, I missed a lot of comments. Let me get back. I'm sorry. I I think we were here. Hey, Grande, Mecca G0 is in the house. Welcome, man. Dank Digital Films. Well timed with my break. Hell yeah, man. And just in time for one of my favorites. She's a fantastic character. Love her, man. Absolutely love her. Forgot about Ehe. Good call. She was amazing in Audition. Yeah, no, she really makes the movie for me. It's a great movie overall. But her performance in general, man, just creeps me out. Like the fact that she was so dedicated to, she vomited in a bowl of dog food and fed it to someone, like that's fucking crazy. I don't know if I've seen Ishina in anything else besides Audition. She only has like 20 or so acting credits to her name, so that's a shame. But man, she made this one memorable. I mean, who doesn't remember Audition? Not familiar with her name, but I know Audition, she's great. Yeah, absolutely. As I said before, great performance. Her face in the foot scene is incredible. Yeah, no, as she starts to torture him, is just some of the best shit you've ever seen, man. And she's trying to give him logic. You only find out who you are by going through pain and suffering. I mean, it's a really fucking disturbing role. It's almost like she's trying to school him on it. And it's quite memorable in how disturbing it is. It's amazing how something so scary can come from something so cute in a way. You know, I found the actress very cute and innocent looking. Yits, there are yits in the Audition. That's right. But number 9 is Suzanne Snyder as Debbie Stone in Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I love how her character figures out that the circus tent is really a spaceship. Okay, see, that's why I like hearing from you guys what your top 10s would be, because I wouldn't automatically think Killer Clowns from Outer Space for a top female performance list, but there you go. It makes it. So, you know, it's cool to see. Really love Sharni Vinson in Your Next. She'd be in my top 10. That's a movie where I'll be honest, I never really got into the movie, but she's a hardcore final girl, like very like overcomes everything, kicks ass and takes some names. Takashi Miike month is coming up. We'll have to revisit this one. Remember the ending just being batshit wild. Yes, it is. It's quite disturbing. As she's the look of enjoyment on her face as she's sawing off his foot with the razor wire. Just oh my God, that's the same cute, innocent girl that was just eating lunch with him? Oh my gosh, that's the cute, innocent girl that wanted to be a ballet dancer? Yeah, it is. She's a crazy bitch at the same time. It's a really nice kind of transition from, you know, we think she's normal, we think she's good, we think she's pure. Nope, not really. Darren is here. Darren, hey, good to see Aja make your list. It's a fantastic performance. Dude, we talked all things Stenhall Syndrome, me and Darren, back on one of the Argento specials. So if you guys haven't checked that out, we went in depth on that opera and trauma. Very good time. Darren's a great, great friend and a great co-host. King Gora's here. Look, the women's going to be the death of me. Absolutely the death of me. Curious to see where Barbara Crampton ends up in Grande's top 10. Well, will she make the top 10? That's the big question here. Howdy, Asami's one of my favorites. Relatable. Oh, relatable? Really? You cutting off people's legs anytime soon? I don't know, man. I didn't know that would be relatable for you, but and maybe you want to be a ballet dancer. Audition is the type of film Eli Roth thought he was making while making Hostel, and that's coming from someone who doesn't mind that film, especially its third act when it turns into a revenge film. Man, that's the thing. Audition is so deep, right? Like I think it's such a deep film from its core. Like it really is about a lot of different things. It's not just about, you know, its reputation is really, oh, that third act. How crazy is that third act? It's so disturbing. Yes, it is. And that's the movie's reputation. But I think it's so much more, right? It's the horrors of what a man will do to get out of a depression and to find love again. I mean, that's a sick fucking thing to do, to sit and audition women and knowing in the back of your head that they're not going to get this role that they're auditioning for. You just want to have sex with them and take them on dates. And there's even really good points and parts where Ihishina says to him, like, if you love only me, this will work, but you can love only me. Like there can be nobody else. And she says to him towards the end, she says, you love your son. I know you're always going to put your son before me. That's not going to work for me. And she's kind of going crazy. Very good stuff, man. Nanette is here. Welcome, Nanette's Necessities Watching Entertainment. Welcome, Nanette. Hope all is well with you. People saying hi to each other. Should be higher, but that's okay. Dude, absolutely. I appreciate that. She made it. Also can't remember her name, but the crazy woman. Dude, somebody mentioned that before I went live, and the comment's not there anymore, so I don't know. But I know you're talking about La Femme or La Femme, whatever. The villain in Inside, she was close to making this list to the point where she was on the list at a point. But we went with a different French actress for that spot. So I agree, though. That's a great role. And for what I've heard in real life, she's a crazy lady in real life. Like, she's like, my friend Billy was telling me that she's literally like, cut off motherfuckers' ears in the past. Like, she's a crazy lady in real life, so it makes sense that she plays that role. I believe she started off as a model. No, I actually don't know that. I'm not sure, but I really need to know that. I didn't really need to know that. Oh, geez, yeah, no. Hello, Grande. Who doesn't want to eat Asumi's puke? Oh, wow, this is how far back I am. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to catch up with the chat here. I'd keep the puke in the fridge since I'm trying to watch my way. Yo, man, you got to keep that. That fucking puke was fresh too. Like, you see her going, like, into the bowl. I remember when I first watched it, I went, oh, I wonder what they used for this. And then, of course, I read, I'm like, that was real vomit. Like, oh my God, man, that's horrible. Stage Dog comic stuff. That's got to be a first time name. Welcome to the graveyard, my friend. And fascist J-pop villain in Zebra Man 2 rules. That's not one I'm familiar with. Cooper Glover, welcome, man. Welcome, whole up as well with you, man. I would really have to think about it for while I pick my top 10 actors in horror movies. Well, go ahead, think about it. We'll be here all night. Nanette, audition, great film, Grande. Thank you, I agree. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to catch up with the chat here. I'm really, really, really behind. Audition is such a great film, and I really like the flawed main character to get out of depression and love. It's super messed up and kind of ahead of its time considering it came out in 1999. Yeah, it is. It really is ahead of its time. I would agree with that. Mac is here. This had to be a tough list to put together. Oh, I can think of so many. I feel like it took a really long time. Basically, took a few days to put this list together, so it was not easy. But I'm glad to have you here, Mac. Yeah, these kind of top tens need to be picked out carefully, and I did. And I'll be honest, there's some ones on here that people are not going to like and not going to agree with. Like, I tried to go as far from the mainstream as I could. And honestly, there's only going to be one final girl in here, which I know will piss people off because people think females in horror are final girls, right? So you would think, Jamie Lee Curtis or whatever. I didn't really go that route. I kind of went with which performances stuck with me the most. And Ehee's was one that did. This woman in Audition was a model, according to Joe Bob Briggs. Okay, cool. Kitty. Would Ellen Ripley and or Jodie Foster from Silence of the Lambs apply in this category? I would say they both would apply. See, the thing, though, is Jodie Foster won an Oscar. So I don't know if I'm really going to put her on this list. Like, yeah, she was great. And, hey, there might even be an Oscar winner already on this list. But it's like, to me, it's like she got her due for me. So I don't know. I didn't feel like having her on this list. It was something I thought of, but great one. Totally. I appreciate controversy. So do I. I think I would have to them two in my top 10. Okay, cool. So, all right, let's move on. Next name on the list. Of course, we're going old school here. Old school golden era age actress. In my opinion, the greatest actress of all time. In Bette Davis in Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. Yes. My favorite horror movie from the 1960s. I think one of the great horror movies of all time. Of course, Robert Aldrich's film, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. And I think it's the greatest performance from this actress, from Bette Davis. And she was in so many wonderful films, not just horror movies, but man, she was in All About Eve and The Nanny and Burnt Offerings and Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte. So many great movies that Bette Davis was a part of in her career. But I think this is her greatest performance. It basically tells the story of this child star named Baby Jane Hudson, who is this phenomenon. Like, Shirley Temple, for people who, know who Shirley Temple is. She's the big, big child star and sings in front of auditoriums, and she has these dolls made of her. I mean, she's just this icon of a child star. And her sister is kind of left in the background, lives in her shadow. And of course, her sister is played by Joan Crawford. And then the film kind of fast forward from when they're kids to when they're older women. And now the roles have reversed. Joan Crawford kind of became a big star in her late teens, early 20s and became this big movie star. Whereas Bette Davis's Baby Jane Hudson became what could have been a never was, if you will, in the entertainment business. It was somebody who was a child star only and kind of faded as time went on and got into alcohol and got into problems and things like that and became her own biggest problem. And then, of course, the movie kind of mostly takes place as her taking care of her sister, who's now in a wheelchair, and she is torturing her sister throughout this entire movie. And in similar vein to, certain child stars, she's trying to relive her glory days. And it is some of the most disturbing stuff I've ever seen in a film as she's trying to relive the golden days for her when she was 6, 7, 8 years old. And instead, she's like this 60-year-old woman. It is absolutely horrific. It's such a great performance from Betty Davis, in my opinion. There's some great scenes where she hires this pianist, and he comes to the house and starts playing the song, and she says, "Listen, I want to dress up like I did as a kid, and I want to remember the good times where I would get ice cream after performances and things like that. I want to remember these times." So he comes over and starts playing this creepy song. "I've written a letter to daddy. His address is heaven above." Scary, man. As she's dancing in this fucking old crickety mansion, trying to relive the glory days, as I have in this picture right here. It's a unbelievable performance from Betty Davis. I mean, she is truly haunting. She's entertaining, and it's also, again, I think, something that I guess is a big thing on my list, and I just kind of thought about it now, is that there's a lot of tragic characters on my list, I think. Like, I think there's a lot of tragedy here. Like, this is someone who had to deal with the horrors of growing up. That's something all of us deal with, right? The beauty it is to be a kid, and the fame and fortune that came for her, and the ice cream and the attention and the dolls and the songs, and being the favored child of the two, and then growing up and feeling like you have nothing but the past, nothing but remember when to go back and to talk about, to try to relive the best days of your life because they're well far over. And there's some horror in that, man. There's truly a lot of horror in that, in my humble opinion. But let's get back to the chat. I don't want to fall too behind, fall far behind again. Sissy Spacek or Piper Laurie and Carrie. We'll see. We'll see. What up, Corey? Number 10 is Anna Paquin. Oh, great pick. I love Anna Paquin. I forgot she won an Oscar. She did. I adore Betty Davis as well. My favorite actress of all time. What a Rabbit Baby Jane is such a good film, and Joan Crawford is very good at it too. Both of them are great. In fact, Betty Davis was nominated for an Oscar for this movie, and of course, they had a big feud, like an infamous feud. They hated each other, and when Betty didn't win, Joan Crawford accepted the Oscar on behalf of the other woman that beat her. So just to rub it into Betty Davis, because she was mad she didn't get nominated too. Good question, Kubrick, but I think you got to give it to Sissy. Oh, you're asking who was better? I would agree with that. Yeah, no, Piper Laurie's great too, though. They're both fantastic in that movie. Joan Crawford and Betty Davis hate each other. Yep, that's true. Ingrid Pitt from The Wicker Man would make my list probably. That's a good pick. That's a really good one. I didn't think Wicker Man. Wicker Man's a great movie too. I agree, Sissy over Piper. I would agree with that as well. Good to see you here, Mateo. Always good to have Mateo in the house. Always good to have all you in the house. I appreciate all you tonight. Whatever Happened to Baby Jane is like a version of Sunset Boulevard that is also centered around a former star who is obsessed with her old life. Yes, and this is much more of a horror version, where Sunset Boulevard is very melodramatic. I think Baby Jane is so much more psychological in its horror, and it's also about the horror between two sisters, right? Because they both, and it mirrored in real life how Joan Crawford and Betty Davis were jealous of one another and hated one another. These two sisters in this movie also were jealous of one another, also hated each other, also were always kind of butting heads. And there's a tremendous scene towards the end where Betty Davis, after torturing her sister and feeding her rats and murdering the maid of the house, Elvira is the character's name. She murders her with a hammer. She takes her sister to the beach, and she's all dilapidated and starved and beaten down and worn down. And they're sitting on the beach together, and Betty Davis kind of looks at her, and Joan Crawford admits, "Listen, like, I fucking tried to murder you at one point." She's like, "What?" All these years you've tried to make me feel bad. And she's like, it was my fault. It was my fault, and I'm sorry. And she apologizes to her crazy sister. And by this point, Betty Davis has lost her mind, and she just, without missing a beat, "All this time we could have been friends." I was like, oh my God, that's fucking crazy. And to me, the crazy finale shot, this is pan out shot of Betty Davis on the beach. The police arrive. They see her sister's pretty much dead. And for a minute, for a minute, she believes herself to be a child again, and all these group and crowd of people on the beach are watching her as she has the two ice cream cones in hand, and you see she's about to get arrested. She looks and she sees the opportunity of the moment to relive that life, relive that part of her life, and she starts dancing almost like she's a kid again. It's almost comes full circle. She gets there. She gets to be a star of the crowd, but it's through murder. It's through psychological torment. It's through rejection of the pianist character. It's just so many things that kind of boil down and make her go crazy here that to me makes this an all-time great performance. And I honestly think it could be higher. But for now, I have it at here at the number 8 slot. My number 9 is Natasha Mouth for playing Rain. I've never seen that. What about Kathy Bates in Misery or Heather Langenkamp in Nightmare on Elm Street? One of them may just be on this list. Susie Bannion from Suspiria will be in my top 10. Somebody else said that. I thought was fantastic with her body language, carried a lot of long takes by mere facial expressions and body language. Absolutely great pick. I went, of course, with a different Argento leading lady and Asia and Stenhall, but still great performance. Top 10, Jennifer Jason Leigh in Single White Female. Great movie. Chick that played Esther. Oh, man. She's great. I can't think of her damn name off the top of my head, but Isabel Furman, I want to say her name was. She's great. That one would be definitely a consideration. Nothing wrong with Heather Langenkamp, but I don't think she would make my list either, to be honest. So the pianist was played by Victor Buono. Oh my God, he's great. He's also in Robin and the Seven Hoods. Just a great character actor. He got nominated for Best Supporting Actor. I wonder if Isabella Johnny would count for this top 10. Maybe. I don't want to ruin the list either. We'll get there, I promise. Kubrick, I agree that Bates should be in the list, but she won an Oscars too, so she should not be on the list. Mia Farrow, Rosemary's Baby. Well, I will say this. There's an Oscar winner on this list, so it may just be Kathy. I think Her Role in Possession is on here. Maybe. Mecca might already know that, so that's true. Mia Farrow, good. What have you done to him, you maniacs? Satan is his father, not Guy. I love that. I mean, that's a great movie. My number 8 is Odessa Young for Franny Goldsmith in The Stand. Oh, okay. Nanette's pulling him out here. I guess Johnny counts and forgot she was also in Nosferatu the Vampire. Love Isabella Johnny. There was a 90s TV remake of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. That's right. And I've never seen it. One of my favorites, Betty's Nuts. Totally, man. Manuela Velasco, she played Angela in Wreck 2007, would probably make my top 10. She's very convincing in that role. And in the sequel, she develops into a badass. Great pick, man. I actually did not think of her. Does Jennifer Connelly count? Dude, Jennifer Connelly. If I did a top 10 hottest, most beautiful women list of all time, she might be number 1. Jennifer Connelly in career opportunities is like, I don't think there's a hotter woman than Jennifer Connelly was in 1991. Like that's the perfect woman. But she's great in Phenomena. I mean, she could totally be in the running for this. She didn't make the list, though. I won't spoil. Matilda May and Life Force would make my top 10. Terrifying and incredibly beautiful space vampire. Another one that would definitely make the top. All shit, got to get back to work. Dude, no worries. Thank you so much for checking it out. I'll watch the rest of the stream later tonight. Have a fun time. Dude, absolutely. Thank you so much for checking it out, man. Missing Matt. Dude, when she's riding the fucking horse and the holy shit, I think I would base my top 10 on at least 2 or more horror films from female actresses. Okay, cool. But Betty Davis comes in at number 8 here. Just a tremendous role as Baby Jane Hudson, one of my all-time favorites, and one that you could argue shouldn't be higher. But this next pick is the shocker of the list. And when I sat down to do this, I initially had Sissy Spacek here, and I removed Sissy Spacek from the list. And I don't think anyone's going to agree with who I replaced her with. And I'm going to try to explain, but I mean, I'm sure it's going to be to no avail. But I will say this. This is the shocker of the list, and I actually can't believe that this made it. But when I thought about it, and I thought about great performances, this one not only came across my mind, but it also came to the point where I was like, this performance is better than the movie itself. Like, doesn't that count for something? And I think it does. And without further ado, our number 7 pick here is none other than Octavia Spencer in Ma. Right? I know. Crazy. I'm sure people are going like, what? Over Sissy Spacek, you four-eyed idiot? What the hell are you talking about? I'm canceled, dislike, whatever. Hear me out. This performance is better than the movie itself. I mean, she is so great in this role. It's like the movie didn't even deserve her and how good she is in this performance. I mean, I love Octavia Spencer in this movie. She is tremendous in it. And she basically, of course, plays this like, middle-aged woman. And she, of course, buys alcohol for these kids at school. And she tells them, hey, not only will I buy your alcohol, you can come down and party in my basement and party, on the weekends. And I'll host the parties. You can just call me Ma. And of course, all these kids start to go there and party and have pizza rolls, and they're dancing to Funky Town and all these things, and all seems well, right? And all's okay because Ma is here and Ma is going to take care of us. And then we learn this character's backstory of her kind of tragic past and how she grew up and was just a constant victim of bullying. And we learn about some of the horrible things the kids did to her in the past. Like she had a crush on this one boy. She had this really big crush on one boy, and he said, "Hey, like we'll play 7 Minutes of Heaven. Come in the closet with me." And instead, they send another kid in there, and she gives the kid a blowjob, and then he comes out, and she's like, "Oh my God, like I blew the wrong guy, thinking this was the guy of my dreams, and they set me up for that." And it's a lot of this, man. It's really sad to see, the things that she went through and the things that she tried to do to be accepted. And I think there's a great sense of horror in that when a person kind of sells out a part of themselves or do something that they don't want to do to impress someone else and to be seen and to be noticed. And I think there's a lot of horror in that, a lot of horror in not being seen and not being noticed. And there's a great monologue in this film that I have here that I think Octavia Spencer delivered with just such great heart, where she says, "Do you know how hard it is to know everyone is having fun without you, without even considering that you might want to join in? And the hard part is they can't see you when you're standing right beside them." I mean, it's just so sad, man, when she's going on about that. And there's this great scene, where she's taking all the kids, she's drugged them, and she wants to get a group photo with them because now they've realized, oh, you're creepy, Ma. We blocked you on social media and all of these things. It's so sad as she takes the pictures. The one girl is a big mouth. She literally cuts into her lips and sews her mouth shut. This one kid he's the African-American, the minority friend in the group. And she says, "I'm sorry, Terrell, they only have room for one of us." And she literally paints the kid white with white paint. There's one kid who, "Oh, you have the perfect skin and the perfect smile." And she takes an iron and burns this kid's stomach and just, oh my God, a horrible burning of this child. I mean, horrible. As she takes this group photo with them, smiling. And that's what this picture I chose here of her just smiling and enjoying herself. This is the closest that Ma, Sue Ann, has ever gotten to being a part of something, being part of a friend group, trying to fit in. And I think there's a lot of horror in that. There's a lot of horror in trying to fit in and the horrors of bullying that surround this character and surround this movie. And you're kind of, reminded of that. And I think in this performance, man, she does a great job. And like I said, I think she's better than the movie itself. The movie around her, the performance, like an 11 out of 10. I mean, she is tremendous in the movie. I really think she's great. So let's go back to comments. Top 10 greatest boobies in horror, perhaps, for the next top 10. Sure, we could do that. You're not an idiot. Well, thank you. Octavia Spencer is so awesome in that film. Maybe way too good. The movie didn't deserve it. Yeah, I agree. That's like, I walked out of the theater and I went, man, I was like, if that was in a better movie, she would have won an Oscar. Like, it's that good of a performance, like it's one of those where Misery is a great movie, no matter what. But Kathy Bates' performance, it's like, okay, Oscar worthy. The movie is also great. Ma, it's like the performance is that good, but it's the movie around her kind of isn't. Besides Matilda May being ass naked throughout Life Force, her straightforward, dead serious acting is so damn good. Yeah, no, she's great, man. I love Matilda May. Never seen Ma. Highly recommend it. Removing Sissy, Grande's so dummy. Well, that's the thing. Well, Grande's no dummy. That's the thing. And I'll explain why I removed Sissy. Now, she was on the list, the initial draft. She was here in this spot. I removed her for two reasons. Number one, she's not even my favorite actress to play that character. I'd actually go with Angela Bettis. I think Angela Bettis was the better Carrie. Now, De Palma's Carrie's the better movie, but what's the better performance? I actually would say Angela Bettis. I think Angela Bettis was a better Carrie. Like, she's like born to play that character. And also here too, the idea of bullying, right? I liked to take a different actress here because Carrie is bullying, it's synonymous, right? Why take Sissy if I think that Angela Bettis, number one, was better in the role? And number two, I decided to go more underrated of an actress. Octavia Spencer's no slouch. Octavia Spencer's won an Oscar in her career. So this is a really big performance, from her. I think she did a great job personally. Same here, Nanette. LOL, I'm there, Miss Carter. Let's go back here. Me, Grande, but Octavia Spencer is great as Magat. Yeah, no, love her. You got me, Grande. But okay, gotcha. Great in Ma. My number 7 is Nev Campbell in The Craft. Love Nev Campbell. Hank, Henry Horseman's here. Killing it as always, Grande. Hank, thank you so much, man. Hope all's well with you. My top 10 is Rebecca De Mornay as Peyton Flanders, alias Mrs. Mott in The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. She's a woman who is out for revenge against the woman she blames for her unborn child's death. Awesome pick, man. I need a soundbite of you saying, I blew the wrong guy. Well, it's sad, man. Like, all the things they do to torture her. And there's a great scene where Juliette Lewis breaks down and says, Sue Ann, I'm sorry for what we did to you. You have to get over it, though. Like, you have a daughter. You have your own life now. Like, you have to get over it. But some people don't, man. Some people, they forever are that bullied, trapped kid that couldn't find love, that was rejected so many times that they are so afraid to get their heart broken again that they never release their heart out to anybody again. And there's, I think, quite a good amount of horror in that. Wood is her name. Rosamund Pike in Gone Girl. Is Gone Girl considered a horror film? I don't know. That's a good question. Grande already has the kick content, and he knows how to interact with people in the comments, and that's one thing that keeps me coming back every week. Dude, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. You're one of my favorite and best supporters, so I appreciate that. And also, if you guys didn't check Sean's channel, he did a 1,000 subscriber stream where he was celebrating hitting 1,000, and nice enough, he said, without even warning, he goes, my favorite current channel right now is Grande's Graveyard. I was like so fucking humbled by that. And I even put it on the Grande's Graveyard Instagram page, that small little clip. So thank you, Sean. All the support and nice words. Mine was all right, better than Thunder Force at least. Yeah, the movie itself I wish was better. I do. That's why I know people will go, no way. But man, she's really good in the movie. I think she's really good. Grant, I need to say something about people make Sissy Spacek out to be more than she is, really. And I can understand why you wouldn't put her on the list. Trust me, it was hard. It wasn't an easy choice, but I was just like thinking about it. I was like, Octavia was better than the movie. Like, it's got to say something. I don't know. So I went with an obscure pick there. Gone Girl is a crime thriller, if you ask me. I am referring to the 2002 Carrie remake. I think Angela Bettis in that gives the best performance that any actress that played Carrie gave. And that's Sissy Spacek, Chloe Grace Moretz. I think Bettis was the best. But of course, De Palma's Carrie is the best movie. But performance-wise, I'd go Bettis. Imagine blowing the wrong person. Dude, I'm glad I don't have to worry about that. Oh, Glenn Close is in Fatal Attraction, or Catherine Trammell in Basic Instinct. I go Glenn Close, man. Grant, I agree with you. Amanda is a better Carrie White. Angela, yeah, definitely. Oh, sorry, I deleted that comment because I was typing too fast. Don't be, dude. No worries at all. Thank you so much. So yes, that is Octavia Spencer as Ma, coming in at number 7, coming in at number 6 now. We're almost onto the top 5. Our one and only final girl on the list, Amy Steele. Come on down. Hell yeah. Of course, I had the pleasure of meeting Amy Steele, one of the nicest horror celebrities I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. And I always, when I sat down to make this list, I was like, I want to try to avoid as many final girls as I can because I want this to be more deep. But I knew I had to have one on there. And I sat down, I thought of Jamie Lee Curtis's and Sigourney Weaver's. And, all due respect to them, I think they're great too. But I think there's something about Amy Steele that was just so special in this particular role as Ginny in Friday the 13th Part 2 that I definitely wanted to have her on this list here. Of course, her character of Ginny Field, she is this kind of, cool counselor, and has this very likable factor to her, just a charm, likability factor. She has a kind of romantic kindle with John Fury's character, Paul, and she's also studying to be a psychologist. So she kind of brings the psychology aspect to it when they're all sitting down in the bar. And what if Jason was this? She says, what if he was a frightened, I don't want to say the word, but she says if he was a frightened, mentally challenged person, and, what if, who's to say? She kind of thinks about the psychology behind a Jason. I thought that was really unique and stuff. But man, the way in this particular scene here where she sells the fear with her eyes, that intensity of like, come on, I'm here, motherfucker. Like, let's go. And also, even going a step further, that with the psychology of putting on the mother's sweater at the end, I always thought, what a brilliant idea to put on the sweater and you've done your job well, and mommy is pleased. Kneel down, Jason. And mother is talking to you. I mean, just great stuff. I love how she's trying to outsmart him. She's trying to use, her psychology background to outsmart the big bad villain at the end, and how she's coming up with the machete, and then he sees his mom and looks blocked, and crazy battle ensues. I thought she was just a tremendous final girl. I think when I look for a final girl, I look for someone like Amy Steele, right? You have the beauty, right? And it's not like she had voluptuous yits or a voluptuous ass, whatever. No, it wasn't. That wasn't what stood out. It was just the girl next door type of quality to me that stood out about Amy Steele. It's just attractive in a plain Jane sort of way. Her personality was very attractive. Her, what she was studying, her personality, all that stuff, very, very attractive, but also tough and also vulnerable in the right way. Like, she wasn't too overpowered, like they think there's a lot of females now in the movies, and they purposely try to do this to try to prove, oh, female leads, we're strong. You have to have vulnerability, though. And I think that's an important thing that a lot of filmmakers and writers and stuff miss now. It's just, oh, we need fucking, a Rambo woman. We need someone that just has no kryptonite. No, everyone needs a kryptonite, because otherwise, if they have no vulnerability, if they have no weakness, how are we supposed to relate to them? How are they supposed to have any kind of an arc if there's nothing for them to overcome? And that's really a big thing that I always look at when I'm looking at a good, strong female lead. I want some vulnerability in there. I want Superman, Superwoman, whatever, what have you, to have a kryptonite. They have to have a kryptonite. It's very important to me, because if they're OP, what's left? What's really there? So that's a big thing for me. And I think Amy Steele had all those things. She had a good battle with Jason at the end. I think, she has the scars to prove it, and the psychology. And I think it's a really well-rounded performance. Like, to me, the ultimate final girl from top to bottom. I think she was, more beautiful than a Jamie Lee Curtis. I think she was more likable than certain other final girls were. And I don't know. I just think Amy Steele was a wonderful casting choice. And I almost wish she could have been in more of the Friday the 13th films. Like, I would have totally took her back in a part 3 over a Dana Kimball, who I don't think was as good. And when I met her, Amy Steele was the nicest lady possible. Love her at April Fool's Day as well. I'm a big fan of the actress, and I think that she definitely belongs in this list. If I was going to choose one final girl, which I sat down, I mean, your Sigourney Weavers and JLCs, they ran through my mind, but Amy Steele, to me, man, takes the cake. Amy Steele comes in at number 6. Let's see. I think I missed this one. Not to mention what Ma did to her own daughter for her own need to be popular. Exactly. She neglected her own flesh and blood. Possibly the only good thing that ever she had in her life. She neglected her sick daughter just to try to fit in. I mean, that's how sick and horrific her sickness was. Interesting. Rose McGowan and Planet Terror and Zoe Bell and Death Proof would be in my top 10 list. Awesome picks. They truly gave great performances in both films and elevated the films a little bit. Yeah, no, I love Rose McGowan in both those segments. Amy Steele, rightfully so. Totally agree. Really like Lar Park Lincoln in part 7. Hell yeah, man. That's a good pick. If I didn't love before Grande, I do now. Amy Steele as Ginny is my favorite final girl, period. I agree completely. I think she's the greatest final girl of all time. I really do. And I wish she had done more. I wish she had done more horror movies. It's really this at April Fool's Day. And depending on who you ask, April Fool's Day isn't even a horror movie. So, I mean, it is what it is. My number 6 is Linda Hamilton for Children of the Corn. Great picks. Great picks. My top number 6 is Barbara Stanwyck in Sorry, Wrong Number. That movie was an inspiration for the famous harassing phone call trope. Dude, awesome pick. Love Barbara Stanwyck. You were mentioning so many great actresses. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this chat's bumping right now. Amy Steele was great in Friday the 13th Part 2. She's a big part of why I love that movie. Me too. Well, how about, oh, dude, yes, Double Indemnity is a great film. I remember watching that with my grandmother, and I adored it. Rebecca Ferguson in The Night House. That's one hell of a performance, if you ask me. Yeah, no, Nate is the one that told me about that movie, and I quite liked it. She's a good actress, man. She's in Everything Must Go with Will Ferrell. I really like that movie. She was in, I think she might have been in that Doctor Sleep movie. I could be wrong. Another final girl that could have made it is, oh, definitely Marilyn Burns. And she was on the list at a point. Marilyn Burns, that's right. That's really cool. You met her. Sackhead rules. Oh, she was a sweetheart too. Like I loved meeting Amy Steele. Just such a nice lady. Oh no, AJ always hates April Fool's Day, but I don't know. I love April Fool's Day. I think that's a movie with balls. Like what balls does that movie have, man? That's for another. Hey, April's coming up. Maybe we'll do it. I've never talked April Fool's Day on here, and I always do when I could do the show downstairs. I always have the April Fool's Day poster there. So maybe I'm due to do April Fool's Day. She signed that poster too. Her signature's on that poster for me. That one sheet, cool enough. Amy could have been in Friday 3, but turned it down. I heard she regrets it now. I'm sure she does because man, that'd be way more money at conventions for her. Marilyn Burns' Scream is beyond the best of them, dude. And the close-ups that Danielle Pearl does on her eyes as she's screaming in terror at that table, that's some Scream Queen goodness right there, man. I don't think she gets enough love, man. Marilyn Burns was great. And she was close, man. Like, if I didn't just do one final girl only, she might have made the list. Dude, me too. I actually would say that's Will Ferrell's best performance. Is that movie. I love Everything Must Go. That's a really, really great movie. Sorry, I got the name wrong. Oh, don't be sorry. Elizabeth Berridge is Amy. Dude, love that movie. Love the Funhouse. Huge fan. Janet Leigh and Psycho, not on the list, my friend. Not on the list. But we are about to dive in to the top 5. Holy shit. All right, are you ready? Here we go. Top 5. Oh, yeah. A little French flavor in here. Cécile de France as Marie in High Tension. Yes. I won't let anyone come between us anymore. I won't let anyone come between us anymore. I know, another crazy pick here. One that's very outside the box, one that I don't think a lot of people would think of. Of course, the villain, the antagonist, La Femme from Inside is one that people definitely were wanting to see. I know someone before I even went live mentioned that. So I was like, oh man. But this performance, man, really good stuff, in my opinion. I mean, there's a lot of range here as well. And in similar vein to Asia and the Stenhall syndrome, we watch this woman as she starts from protagonist and ends up being the antagonist from start to finish. And I really like that kind of swerve as this thing goes on. Of course, High Tension follows these two girls, and they're going up to one of the girls' parents' house for just a college study semester. And they go up there, and basically what happens is an intruder breaks in during the night, brutally murders the family, decapitates the father, switchblades the mother to death, shoots the son with a shotgun. It is a horrific fucking scene as this killer is just picking off people in the house. And of course, the movie kind of plays out as an ultimate cat and mouse chase between Cécile de France and this trucker, right, who has her best friend kidnapped. And, I mean, she's great. Number one, as the protagonist part, I think she's really good at keeping the intensity there. And, this is one of those movies that it is exactly what it says. This movie is high tension. It's 90 minutes of high tension from beginning to end. And man, she does a great job as the protagonist. But when they get to the ending, and it's a very controversial ending, it's an ending that a lot of people hate and say ruins the movie for them. I understand. So if you feel that way. But when it gets to the ending and she shows her acting, that's some of the best acting I've ever seen in a movie, man. It really is. I mean, she is fantastic when it's revealed that she's the one doing these killings. I mean, it is horrific. Basically, the way they do it is you think she's destroyed and killed the trucker, and she burst her friend free, and her friend is crying and screaming and all tied up. And Alex, he's dead. He's dead. It's just you and me now. He's dead. Don't worry about it. Relax. Calm down. She takes off, the gag, and the lady says, "You murdered my whole family, And she's crying her eyes out. She's like, "What are you talking about, Alex? He's gone. I saved you. You're okay. We could be together now." And you realize that in that moment that she has been the one that committed all of these murders and crimes. And there's a great scene where you see security footage of her killing the gas station attendant, who's Frank Calhoun, who also went on to direct P2 and stuff. She looks at the camera just kind of slowly, just like kind of evil, just this evil look towards the camera, like, surprise, it's me, bitch. Like, I will stop at nothing to have this woman that I love. And you get this whole kind of crazy twist where she loves the Alex character. She loves Alex. She's in love with her, and she won't let anyone come between her and her love. Not even her love's family, not even a boy, not even a boy that she's lusting for. She will not let anyone come between her and the woman that she loves. And it's a truly horrific kind of idea, because it's like, you think about it, it's like, what would you do to make sure the person you love couldn't love anyone else? Would you murder their family? Would you murder their significant other if they were dating someone? Would you murder their husband? Would you murder their wife? These are the questions that you have to kind of think about. And this is what this character went through. She was jealous of her fucking lovers, or the girl she loved, family, jealous of the love she gave them. So she decides to murder them all in brutal fashion, all in one fucking night, and then crazily drive around and all this shit. Absolutely fantastic turn, in my opinion. A great double turn from pro to antagonist. I think it's great, as I won't let anyone come between us anymore. And she's chasing her around with the saw, and just the crazy intensity that derives from that scene and all of that. And she says, "Tell me you love me or I'll kill you." See, I love you. She's crying her eyes out. And then the two make out, and bam, she gets stabbed through the stomach. And she still continues to kiss her, because it doesn't matter. Even her own life is not as worth it as it is to be in love with this woman here. That's great, man. That's great. And of course, to me, the great thing that drove it home was that final scene where Newborn by Muse is playing. Link it to the world. And she's sitting in like this hospital bed, all chained up. And the woman, Alex, is watching her through the glass. And she asks the woman, "Can she see me? She can't see me, right?" And this lady says, "No, she can't see you." She looks up in this scene and kind of just reaches out. And it's a great jump scare as we fade to black. Like, holy shit. Like, this bitch, she's not even supposed to be able to see her, but she can feel her. That's how strong that this love and desire is, that she will not let anyone come between them, no matter if it's friends, family, significant other, interest, what have you. She will not stop. And that is quite horrific, man. The horrors of love really felt out here by Cecile de France. I think Cecile de France does a wonderful job in this movie. I love her. I think she is very, very well fit on this list. So that is Cecile de France at number 5. Great movie and actress, Kubrick lovers, 1972, The Bride of Frankenstein. She did not make it. No, Elsa Lanchester did not make it. Feel bad. I haven't seen this movie either. Highly recommend, Mateo. I think you'd love it. I really think you'd love it. It seems like people either love High Tension or they absolutely hate it. Yeah, it's one or the other. Here's the thing. It's one of those movies where I think the ending really ruins it for people. Like, they don't like that twist. But to me, it's like, I always really like the twist. I think she's really good in selling that. Like, not happening. No one's coming between us anymore. I really like that. My top 5 is the late Jessica Harper as Evelyn Draper in Play Misty for Me. Her character was the inspiration for Alex Forrest and Annie Wilkes. Very cool. Love Jessica Harper. May she rest in peace. I didn't know she had passed away, actually. Wasn't aware of that, Slasher Fred. Yeah, I wasn't aware she had passed either. High Tension, forgot that role too. Very emotional, great acting moments. Yeah, no, she's great in it for sure. My number 5 is Sigourney Weaver in Copycat, if it's considered a horror movie, and if not, it's Virginia Madsen in Candyman. Great picks. Virginia Madsen was on the list as a point as well. So great picks, everybody in the chat for sure. Top 4 now. To me, before we get into the top 4, I think these are the top, like these from 5 to 10, I inserted in and out. I was doing a lot of editing throughout the week. These top 4 never changed. I think these next 4 to me are locked. I don't think that there's a fucking person, actress, whatever that's arguable here. These next 4 to me are the 4 greatest performances in the history of horror movies from female performers. So I'm super excited. I simply like the twist on High Tension because it's so different. So do I. I always liked it too, man. So I'm glad I'm not alone. But coming in at number 4, it is Angela Bettis in May. Yes, Angela Bettis in May. And to me, again, another really heartfelt performance. And I will go as far to say this: her performance in May is one of the performances that got me into horror movies and made me a horror fan. And I guess I could be afforded to tell a little bit of an anecdote. I remember way back in the day when I was 5 or 6 years old, going to my grandmother's house for vacation time, summertime, winter break, whatever it was. And that was one of the first times I could ever remember going to a Hollywood Video or 48 Hours. And in her place, it was a 48-hour rental store. Also, I see Mateo says Jessica Harper still alive. I thought so. I was going to say I did not know she had passed away. So there you go. I didn't think so. That's good. I got my money on Sigourney Weaver as Ripley. Yeah, I don't know, buddy. But I'm sorry. Let me get back to my little anecdote. So I would go to these 48-hour rental stores with her. And it was there that I saw the video poster for the 2002 Carrie TV movie with Angela Bettis in the lead. I remember seeing that poster and being just immersed in it. I was like, wow, that's such a cool poster. I want to see that movie. And I remember renting it, loving it, and being like, man, what else has this actress done? Like, she caught my eye even at the age of 5 or 6. And then I looked and I found this movie called May, where she's front and cover. She's the character of May. And I said, oh, I'm going to rent this now. And then I watched the movie, and I swear to you, it's one of the movies that is the reason why I'm a horror fan, is her performance in this movie as May. It's absolutely tremendous. And she basically plays this character, May, where she grew up with this awful lazy eye, and she was made fun of and had no friends. So even to the point where her parents decided, hey, we know you're having a hard time making friends, so instead we've made one for you. And they give her this doll named Susie, and it's in this glass doll case kind of thing. And she talks to this doll as if it's her best friend, because it's the only friend she's ever had. She's never felt companionship. She's never felt friendship. She's never been able to feel love for anyone. And she's very confused. But then one day they find a way to correct and fix her lazy eye. And then all of a sudden, men and women alike start to notice her. And of course, Jeremy Sisto's character starts to notice her. Anna Faris, in a really early role, starts to notice her. And she's overwhelmed by all of these people, all of a sudden feeling attraction to her and hitting on her. And she doesn't know what to do with these kind of, things. And she has these some great, great monologues where she says, I saw someone today, a boy. You know how when you meet someone and you think you like them, and then the more you talk to them, you see parts that you don't like that guy on the bench, and sometimes you end up not liking any parts at all. But this boy, I like every part about him, especially his hands. They're beautiful. He's different. She looks at people and realizes that there is no such thing as a perfect person. And she learns this at a really late part of life. Everyone learns early on that nobody's perfect. She doesn't really learn this because she's never gotten to interact with people. And you slowly but surely see that she sees perfect parts. Adam's hands, Anna Faris's neck. She sees perfect parts in people, but she does not see perfect holes. And you see that once she starts the dating scene and she goes out on dates with Adam. And at first it's going all well. And they have some great moments together where she says, oh, and I'm reading about amputation. And he goes, oh, what's that for work? And she goes, no, just for fun. Like she has that dark humor down too, which is really, I think, an important part of this role. But even the dark humor, as good as it is, the tragic parts of this character to me are what really drive it home. And she's discussing, with Susie, her doll, after she's had this makeout session with Adam that goes horribly wrong, she bites his lip to the point where he bleeds because she doesn't know how to make out with somebody. And he goes, who the fuck taught you how to kiss? And he storms out. And she breaks down and starts screaming at her doll. Who taught me how to kiss, huh, Susie? Yelling at the doll case. Who taught me how to kiss? Going crazy. It's really sad to watch as her character learns the horrors of the dating scene and learns the horrors of how shitty some people can be and with relationships and stuff like that. And it's really tough, man. It's really, really tough to kind of watch her slow descent from, innocent, lazy-eyed girl to being exposed to, from all this awkwardness to now I'm out there, now I'm available. Even there's a scene where Anna Faris and her hook up and they have a very passionate, intimate night together. And she's like, oh my God, I think I love Anna Faris. Like she's trying to figure out her sexuality, right? Or her sexual orientation. Is she like boys, girls? Is she bisexual? We don't know that. But she likes Adam. She likes Anna Faris. She even has an intimate night with her. However, she sees Anna Faris later in the week and she's with another girl. And she's just jealous. Like, why would I thought we had something here? And she's like, yeah, I know we had a good night, but babe, like I gotta hit that. I gotta hit Ambrosia. And she notices the girl that she's getting with, she has these nice legs that she wants a piece of. She starts to see people for the shitty people that they truly are, and not as wholes, but as parts. And she decides that I'm not going to, be able to have any friends or have any stable relationships or have any love. So instead, I'm going to go out there and do what my mom said. I'm going to make my own. It's just how the mom brought her own doll home. She decides I'm going to make my own person. I'm going to make my own thing to love. And thus she goes around the neighborhood on Halloween night, murdering people that have fucked her over and led her on, and taking the parts from them that she likes. So she takes Adam's hands, she takes Anna Faris's neck, she cuts it off, she takes Ambrosia's legs, just really crazy, almost making the perfect human doll, taking all perfect parts to try to make the perfect whole in order to be seen. Because that's her big tragic thing. She's felt that her whole life, no matter, how hard she's tried, no matter how good she was, she felt that she was never seen for the beautiful woman that she really was, and the beautiful person that she really was. And she creates this whole doll out of body parts. And then, of course, has to cut out the one part of her that was imperfect, her lazy eye. She decides, stabs herself in the eye and cuts her own eye out, puts it on the doll and screams, crying hysterically, see me, crying in the fetal position. And to me, you get one of the great endings in horror history as the doll that she's created comes to life. And an all unsupernatural movie, just the hand just kind of rubs over her face, brushes over her face, and we cut to credits. Man, one of the most impactful, important performances in the history of horror movies, and a performance that I would say is the reason I'm a fan. I am a fan of horror movies because of Angela Bassett May. I mean, that's how great she is in this role, because she's able to hit so many different notches. Again, it's the horrors of awkwardness, the horrors of fitting in, the horrors of relationships, the horrors of not being seen when you want to be, and you do all the right things by the book, but you're not seen anyway. You're just ignored or forgotten or considered nuts. And she was considered all those things. And as these cracks formed in her life, the cracks start to form in her doll case as well. The Susie doll, all these kind of glass cracks. I think Angela Bassett May and Lucky McKee's May overall, it's a work of art. I think it's a horror masterpiece. I really do. And I think, we hear from, a Jodie Foster for getting an Oscar nomination. We hear from a Kathy Bates, and rightfully so. I mean, those are great performances. Sissy Spacek. There's no way you could argue to me that Angela Bassett shouldn't have been nominated for an Oscar here. And in my opinion, she should have won it. I mean, that's how great she is in this role. It's so fantastic and heartbreaking. And to me, top to bottom, it's one of the great performances of all time. So I think Angela Bassett May is a very well-deserving spot here at number 4. And it was really hard, man. She could have easily been number 1 for me. But she's found here at number 4, and I think it's a wonderful performance. Let's see. Looks like Barbara Crampton isn't going to make the top 10 list. She would easily make my top 10, just saying. Dude, I love Babs. Totally love Babs, man. She's so good in so many movies, too, like Reanimator and Castle Freak, and she's just great. I love Babs. My top 4, Amy Steele and Friday 2. Awesome pick. Mersey says same to the Barbara Crampton. So Barbara, I may have left off a key person here, so I'm sorry. Never seen May. Highly recommend. Crampton would probably be my number 1, 2. Oh, wow. Okay, hell yeah. Sorry, I meant Jessica Walter. Oh, no worries. Jessica Harper is still alive, and she was in. Okay, I'm glad to hear she's still alive, because I was like, oh, damn, I must have missed that. I got to get a copy of May in the collection. Dude, for some reason, there's only a DVD of May. I don't know why there's not a special edition Blu-ray. Grande, I'm thinking you might have The Woman from Sleepaway Camp, even though I don't love that film. Oh, man, we'll see. My top four is the actress who plays Chrissy Watkins in Jaws. Great pick. I haven't seen that one either. No worries. Got to check out May as well. I recognize that movie cover. Yeah, that cover is iconic. Yeah, I could see that too, Kubrick. I know he loves the sleepaway movies. Maybe, just maybe. Linnea Quigley or Ingrid Pitt are my guesses in the final three. We'll see. What could be the last remaining cock-a-doodle three? Well, I think when I scrolled down, I scrolled too far, my friend. Because I might have given away who's the cock-a-doodle third. But here we go as number three, Kathy Bates in Misery. Yes, he didn't get out of the cock-a-doodle car. I mean, oh my God. To me, I'm happy. This is the one role in this list that I'm happy got its due. And it's one where it's like, even though I argue for, okay, Jodie Foster, could she have been on this list? Absolutely. But Kathy Bates is so fucking great in this movie. Like, you can't not have Kathy Bates on this list. Like, it's that great of a performance, man. I really, really think it's one of the best of all time. And I'm happy she won the Oscar. To me, it's like any of these top four could have and should have won an Oscar. The Kathy Bates won an Oscar. The number two choice won the Cannes Film Best Actress. Angela Bettis got nothing. And our top person got nothing either. So it's a shame. But I'm glad that somebody at least took home some Oscar gold here in Kathy Bates in Misery. I think this character is just tremendous. I mean, what could I really say that hasn't been said? I mean, of course, the Annie Wilkes character that I'm your number one fan. I'm your number one fan. I'm your number one fan. I mean, she's great in this. And as she takes in James Caan after he's, got into this bad car accident in the blizzard, and he's this famous writer, Paul Sheldon, who writes the Misery books, and she's his number one fan. But of course, as this movie plays on, you see that she's a fucking crazy lady and out of her goddamn mind. And I think she's fantastic in the movie. I mean, she's great. And to me, the best scene of her performance in this movie is when she's discussing how when she was a kid, she used to go see the chapter plays. When I was a kid in Bakersfield, my favorite thing to do was to go to the theater and see the chapter plays. And Jimmy Caan goes, "Oh, like the cliffhangers." And she goes, "I know that, Mr. Man. I'm not stupid, Like, the way she could go from genuine to just fucking crazy on a dime. Tremendous, just tremendous. Where you're just like, okay, it's normal, the normal thing that most kids would do. Okay, normal. Okay, crazy, Mr. Man, whatever. My favorite was Rocket Man, and he was going on the cliff and he was falling off the cliff, and I was so scared and excited, and you better bet I was in line the very next day to see it. And I shouted, "They just cheated us. This isn't fair. He didn't get out of the cock-a-doodle car." Just amazing. That scene in itself is incredible as she just goes from 0 to 100 with that. I mean, she's great in this role. I love Kathy Bates in Misery. I really think it's one of the best performances of all time. And of course, there's so many other points in this movie too. Of course, where she's, I always, we were discussing this on a past stream, and Miss C said this, and this is a question because we have a bunch of people in the house tonight. The scene where Paul Sheldon is going to try to drug her, and he says, "Hey, I want dinner for the two of us. Where I'm on the last chapter of Misery. I want to have a nice, beautiful dinner with you. We'll have wine, 2 glasses," and he's planning on drugging her. She has all of this, the candlelit dinner, beautiful chops and stuff. We had this whole debate on a past stream where I reviewed Misery in 4K. Did she spill that wine on purpose or not? And it's something that I have never been able to decide what I think. So it's a question for you guys. Did she spill the wine in that scene on purpose or not? Because it's a really good question because, okay, you have the one argument here where she knew where the penguin was faced due south, so she knew he had been out. Like, she's a crazy bitch. She pays attention to detail. That part we know. But at the same time, she also in a scene admits to him, "Hey, I sometimes get the blues. And don't tell me that you love me. I know you don't. And don't tell me that you want to stay here because I know it's not all entirely true. Don't tell me that. Don't be like that. And I'm thinking about putting bullets in this gun later." Like that whole scene. I always wondered though, was it a part of her character that was naive? That naive part of her that loved him, that did want to have dinner with him, that did want to believe that he wasn't just going to drug her, that he did want to have, a nice romantic dinner with her to celebrate finishing Misery's return. I always wondered that. And I remember that night in the chat, we had a lot of different, comparing and contrasting opinions of if she spilled the wine that he drugged on purpose or not. And I think that whatever the answer is, I think it's so interesting because if no matter if the answer is one thing, it changes her character completely, right? If she did believe it, she's naive and really truly believed for a second that she was a hopeless romantic and that he did love her back. And I could see that. I could see that here. But at the same time, I could also see somebody going, she was too smart for that. She knew it was fucking full. If she knew which way her penguin was facing, she knew that this fucking guy was going to try to drug her here. I don't know. I really don't know. Like, if I ever met Rob Reiner or Stephen King or whatever, I would ask that question. I want to know the answer to that question because it's so fun to speculate. Let's see. I think oh man, I've got to go back. I think we were here. I want to say we were right here. LO solid pick. Thank you, my friend. Now, my number 3, Patricia Arquette in Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors. Hell yeah. That line was a reference from the episode of the old film Serial King of the Rocket Man. Hell yeah. Hey, Grande. Anthony's here. Kathy Bates may be my number 1. Not sure, but easily in my top 3. Yeah, she had to be top 3 for me. Kathy Bates is great in Misery. Dude, yes, she is. She's so great in Misery. Like, it's one of those performances where, like, I've never heard anyone say a bad word about it. Like, it's unanimously loved. I've never met someone who didn't like Misery as a movie. Gives Peter Gabriel's Sledgehammer a whole new meaning. Yeah, we got to love the hobbling scene. The hobbling scene, trust me, darling, it's for the best. Oh, Eddie, please, for God's sakes. I mean, she's, any more requests? Is smudges, huh? If you ever watched that show called Castle Rock in the second season, showed a backstory of Annie Wilkes. Really, that's cool. Grande, people are always snubbed at the Oscars, and there's always people that deserved it who don't get it. That's true. I've come to the point where I don't care about the Oscars yet. I still think it is still important. Yeah, totally, man. Yeah, Kathy Bates really knew how to go to 0 to 60 totally and seamlessly. Pretty much agree with that, Kubrick. Yeah, I do too. I would agree with that. She's incredible. The story from King is amazing. Movie could be better. Very 90s how it's shot. Okay, so definitely like the story. All right, Kathy Bates, first one in my top 10 so far. Yeah, no, my top 10. This is the only one where I know would probably be on most people's. Like, I definitely, I think there's some other ones that are definitely in consideration for other top 10s. But Brother Tom, please share your whole top 10 list with us. I'd love to hear it. Wes is here. I am the Ice Lord. Welcome, my friend. Hey, Matt. Always good to see Wes here. Let me get back. I think we were here. She was in love with him, so I say no. Yeah, see, I never thought of it that way until you said that in that stream, and I thought that's such an interesting part. Like, was she that naive? Like, because if it is, I think it adds so much more to that character than was ever there. Did she spill it on purpose? Awesome question. She is crazy, but not stupid. I would say she did it on purpose. I think a lot of people would say she did it on purpose, but I think Miss C makes an interesting point here because she did. She even says it like, I love you. I love the books that you write. I love that you're a big, important man. And then there's little old me. Like she really did love him as crazy as she was. I believe that much. I believe that part that she did love for him to that point. I think she did it on purpose to show him she wasn't as wrapped up in him as she thought. Okay, so that's again an interesting one. Just listen to Grande, rock and roll, strut and stroll, good brother. I think Misery is like Sunset Boulevard, where instead of having a former celebrity obsessed with a writer, you can have a fan obsessed with a celebrity, and it's it's such a great movie. Talking about the horrors of fandom and stuff like that, I think it's really. It's quite something. My top 10 is top 3 is Catherine Hicks in Child's Play. Okay, awesome pick. I am the Ice Lord. Yeah, no. So that was just something I had to ask the chat. I definitely always wondered what people thought because I remember that night being like, oh, I never thought of it that way. But what an interesting, point to bring up. I before she said that, I would have said absolutely she did it on purpose. But now I don't know. Like I wonder because she and in her old monologue where she's saying like, first, I didn't know how you got out, when she shows him the bobby pin and he's like, oh, shit, she knows, That whole scene, she never mentions the dinner. Like, she never mentions any of that. So, I don't know. I kind of wonder, man. I kind of wonder. But Kathy Bates in Misery, to me, a slam dunk, has to be on the list. The one that would be on most people's universal list, and I think rightfully so. I love Kathy Bates in Misery. I think it's a great, great performance. But on to the top 2. Nitty-gritty time, ladies and gents. These next two get their own pages. That's how important they are. Number 2, Isabelle Adjani from Possession, 1981. Um, wow. I mean, from an intensity standpoint, I think this would have to be number 1. And there was, I sat here and I thought about it, and I really made a good argument for her to be number 1. And at a point in my mind, she was going to be. But my number 1 slot it was a little bit more endearing to me. So I went with the number 1 where I did, and I went with Adjani here. But man, when you're talking about, intense performances and performances where actresses literally, gave it their all and gave every single bit of their psychological state to a role, you look no further than Isabelle Adjani in Possession from 1981. To me, in my humble opinion, horror's greatest breakup movie. Like, to me, it's the greatest horror breakup movie that there ever was. It basically tells the story of Sam Neill and Isabelle Adjani, and they're this married couple. He's a photographer that's come back from war. The movie takes place in Germany, and basically he gets back home. They have a child, and she says, listen, I'm not in love with you anymore. I'm in love with somebody else. I've been sleeping with somebody else, and I want a divorce. And we watch this entire movie as we watch the destruction of a marriage and the breakdown of a marriage between two people. And on different pages that they are. Of course, Sam Neill wants to rekindle it and fix things, and Isabelle Adjani feels that he's being over possessive and that she's feeling the horrors of possession that he feels over her. And of course, we then see who exactly Isabelle Adjani has been sleeping with as a result. And if you haven't seen the movie, this is going to be quite a shock, but it is what it is. She's having an affair with like what looks to be a Lovecraftian monster. I shit you not. And she has this great line where she says, like, be careful, he's tired. He was making love to me all night. And you see this Lovecraftian monster. I mean, it's just horrifying to see. I mean, one of the scariest like visuals I'll ever remember. When I first saw that, I remember like getting off my couch being like, whoa, what the fuck? She's fucking that thing? This green Lovecraftian tentacle monster? Like, what? Crazy. And the scene that, of course, drives home to me this great performance is the fantastic scene in the subway where she learns that she's miscarried this demon's child and she has had a miscarriage. And to me, it's so deep and cuts in so deep into wounds to any woman that's ever gone through that, whether you've had a miscarriage or, lost a child before you had. I mean, her breakdown in this subway scene, it's like a 3+ minute scene of her running around in the subway, screaming her fucking head off and throwing the groceries against the wall and the milk and slamming her head and body and contorting her body in all sorts of ways, to the point where she gets down on her knees. And you could see us in this picture, the blood of her and then the green blood of the Lovecraftian monster pouring out of her as she breaks down and screams. The horrors of losing a child, an unborn child that you wanted to have. That's really fucking deep and horrific. And man, her performance is fantastic. And she actually has said that this performance in this role fucked her up beyond belief, to the point where, and I know this is personal information, but it's been stated in past interviews. She, when the movie was released, had suicidal thoughts, went to the bathroom. Apparently, she saw the movie in the theater and went home, went in her bathroom and decided to cut herself, and actually had to go to therapy in order to regain her psychological state where she was before this. That's how deep and committed she was to this role. I mean, that's really crazy. And, she said in future interviews, she said, I could never play that role again. She said, the only reason I could play it was because I was young when I played it. She said, if you're older, if you're late 30s, early 40s, she said, you can't play that role. You can't bring the emotions that you need to bring to this performance to make it work. And she said, she never could have tackled that role at any other age in her life than where she was here in 1981. And I thought she did a tremendous job. I really did. I mean, she is really gives a heartbreaking performance. And she has so many wonderful lines where, she says, I can't exist by myself because I'm afraid of myself, because I'm the maker of my own evil. She does blame part of herself for this, even though she feels she's fallen out of love with Sam Neill. When the movie comes full circle and you see exactly what this Lovecraftian monster is, a doppelganger, you see that she wants Sam Neill to be this version of himself. She wants him to be what the doppelganger is to her. She loves Sam Neill. She did feel love for him. She just fell out of love with that version of him and not this version. So it's really it's quite sad. It's quite sad to see the emotional range that she had to dip into and dive into here, and some of the facial expressions and intensity, and things change when she's looking at the camera and crying her eyes out. Even in this movie, she's cutting herself with fucking electric blades and stuff like that. It's fucking crazy. Like it's quite disturbing, her performance in this movie. But I think it's one of the most intense performances of all time. Like I really do. Like I think this is one of horror's all-time greatest performances, and she won Best Actress at Cannes Film Festival, in my opinion, rightfully so. Like I think she was so fucking fantastic in this role and in this movie. I think that Isabelle Adjani was just a show stealer, absolute show stealer. And I would say this, even though she gave all of her psychological state to do this role, it is not lost on me and the community. Like people that have seen this movie, your takeaway usually is how great Isabelle Adjani is in it. I mean, she's great. So Isabelle Adjani to me is slam dunk in the number 2 role. Very, very possible she could have been number 1. But let's see. What about Stretch from TCM2, one and the Leprechaun movies? She was in this Leprechaun movie. She's Carolyn Williams. I love Carolyn Williams. Great choice. Oh yeah. My number 2 is Kathy Bates in Misery. Can't go wrong. Grande Sleepaway Camp has to be number 1 for you. Maybe. Isabelle Adjani was scary good in Possession. Totally agree. Stretch, Carolyn Williams is another great pick, Sean. My top 2, Eric Elenick as Catherine Verdot in Bordello Blood. Awesome. I just watched that first time last summer, and holy shit, I'm still trying to wrap around Isabella is full of batshit craziness. Hell yeah, man. It's a great role. I've heard some people say she went over the top. I think that's exactly what it feels like on the inside when you're going through something like that. Like I've never been married. I've never gone through divorce. I've never had a miscarriage, but I'm sure all of those things are really well captured to me by this particular role. I mean, she does a great job. Thanks, Fever Dreamland. Forgot her real name. I never really thought about that question, but the next time I watch Misery, I'll watch it more closely. Yeah, it's a good question. Had the pleasure of seeing this in a big screen downtown Toronto last year during Halloween. Awesome movie. Super fucked. Yeah, super fucked. Barbara Steele, number 1. That's my guess. Okay. We love Babs. Grande method acting for Isabelle Adjani, of course. That was Subway Scene was about. For real, no joke. I thought it was a weird possessed by. Yeah, no, she's learned she's had a miscarriage, and just all of the liquids flow out in that scene, and it's quite horrific to watch. The woman from Sleepaway Camp must be number 1. Apparently, Adjani's agent tried talking her out of Possession, but she wanted that role really bad. She did, and she apparently took really bad pay to do that movie. And it's quite wild that you would literally sacrifice pay and your psychological mental health to deliver a performance this good. But man, yeah, she's great. Isabelle Adjani was beautiful. Yes, she was. Absolutely gorgeous actress. She's tremendous. And she won Oscars for other movies. Like she's a tremendous actress in general. Isabelle Adjani was truly amazing in Possession. You cannot deny. And it seems like you wouldn't be able to do that role at a later age for sure, at least not without hurting yourself badly. Yeah, no, and she did hurt herself badly even at the age she was at. Like I agree. I think you have to be young and in stable condition of your emotions in order to let them flow out, as hardcore as they do here for this movie. I love Isabelle Adjani. I think she's great. So to me, a slam dunk at number 2 position, which brings us to number 1. I guess we do a brief list recap and then get into number 1. So let's scroll back all the way to the top. Of course, at number 10, we had Asia Argento in the Stenhall Syndrome, Ihi Sheena in Audition, Betty Davis in Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, Octavia Spencer in Ma, Amy Steele in Friday the 13th Part 2, The Body Count Continues, Cecile DeFrance in High Tension, Angela Bettis in May, the one of the performances that made me the horror fan I am today, Kathy Bates in Misery, Isabella Johnny in Possession. And drum roll, please. Number one, my all-time favorite, not just female performance, but I would say my all-time favorite performance in the history of horror movies and in the history of movies. It's my favorite performance of all time. My favorite character of all time is Pamela Springsteen in Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3. You guessed it right, Brian Cooper Lover. He got it right, man, because he knows how much I love this fucking character. So I know a lot of people would never have this character on the list. I even know people that would tell you that Felissa Rose was better as the Angela character. No way. No way, in my humble opinion. I like Felissa Rose, and Felissa Rose is wonderful to the community of horror. She's always at conventions, and she even signed by me a few times for free. I mean, that's how hardcore, Felissa Rose loves horror fans. And Pamela Springsteen, unfortunately, she's not in the convention scene or autographs. She pretty much doesn't really talk about this role, unfortunately. But it's a shame because, man, I think it's the greatest performance in the history of movies. I really do. And I think it's the greatest character in the history of movies. I would go that far. Like, I think it is the most brilliantly written character and greatest performance of all time. It really is my favorite. And, of course, just oh man, where do we begin with this one? I mean, it's so hard to talk about your favorite now, right? I mean, it's almost like I'm at a loss for words. Of course, let's see. I would definitely pitch at Johnny some pennies if I was walking that subway while the miscarriage was going on. Dude, yeah, for real. My number one is Kimberly J. Brown and Stephen King's Rose Red. Awesome pick. Grande, you have that Sleepaway Camp poster. I do. I have the Xerox of Sleepaway Camp 2 right there. But I had the Sleepaway Camp 3 video, the one sheet of part 3 downstairs. Number one, Leslie Hoffman in the original Nightmare on Elm Street. Leslie Hoffman? Who is Leslie Hoffman in the original Nightmare on Elm Street? Who is that? That actress name doesn't ring a bell for me at all. But Pam Springsteen. Let's get into Pam Springsteen. So this character, I remember when I first saw Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3, I always liked the first one. I liked the original. Of course, everyone remembers the ending. But to me, I always like the sequels better because I thought it delved a lot more into the Angela character, and she really sells the art of what it is to be a psychopath. Like, she really sells the art of being a psychopath to perfection, in my opinion. And in the second one, just from the opening, where she's in the hall of kids and all the kids are sitting around the lunch tables and eating lunch and stuff like that, and she gets named Counselor of the Week. Okay, Angela Johnson, Counselor of the Week. I don't know what to say. I was a camper here too myself, and it's just being named Counselor of the Week. It's the pinnacle, and Camp Rolling Hills is the best. And of course, the song "I'm a Happy Camper," the summer song, where it's the hand movements and stuff like that. You see in that moment that this is the pinnacle of this woman's life. And I know a lot of people probably laugh or scoff, but it's the truth. That moment where she's named Counselor of the Week is the pinnacle of her life. And it's a great moment for her. And she wants everyone in this camp to be as moral and morally sound as she is. So if you drink, if you cuss, if you fuck, if you do drugs, if you do anything immoral, Angela Baker comes to kill you. And, I just think in so many fun, creative ways, but of course, entertaining, and the one-liners, man, the way she was able to deliver these one-liners were so much fun, where she gives the one lady, she's like, listen, I'm going to give you one more warning, Mayor. My name's not Mary, it's Mayor, and, what are you going to get? Oh, a drill. It drills her to death. And the scene where she's burning the two twin sisters alive and say no to drugs, burns the sister alive, drops the match on her. Great stuff. Of course, drowning the Val Hartman character in the outhouse of shit, piss, and leeches. What's down there? Shit. That's right. It's one of your favorite words. Well, you've been a shitty friend and a shitty counselor. What else is down there? Piss. You pissed your whole life away. Nothing but God-given talent and beauty, and you've pissed it all away. What else is down there? I don't know. You're going to have to find out. Drowns this woman in an outhouse of shit and piss and leeches. Horrifying. Horrifying as she lectures her before the death. Terrifying stuff. And towards the end, where she's going off about how she was in psychotherapy, and she's, how did you get this job? I have great recommendations. I did my time, you know. I was electroshock therapy, plus every pill you've ever heard of, plus an operation. I'm completely cured. I mean, she's psychotic. I mean, it's the most believable psychopath you've ever seen in your life. But at the same time, she's able to be charming and can wink at you in a tongue in cheek way as she's doing the things that she's doing. And that's why I love this performance and this character. I mean, she's so much fun in the role. It's almost like some people I've heard say it's a female Freddy. Sure, but I think the psychology there is so much deeper than a Freddy. You know, and to me, the scene, my favorite scene in any of the Sleepaway Camp movies is the scene I took this picture from right here. This is from part 3, where she's getting rid of one of the dead bodies. She's throwing out one of the dead bodies in the trash, and she has to walk through the old hall where just a year ago she was named Counselor of the Week, and she seemed like she was at the pinnacle of her life. And then, of course, you know, she realizes that, you know, she's never going to get that again. She's watching the stage, she's watching it, and she's like, that was the pinnacle. That was it. You know, some people dream of hitting a home run in Game 7 of the World Series. Some people dream of throwing the game-winning touchdown pass in the fourth quarter of a Super Bowl. Angela Baker's dream was to be the Counselor of the Week. That's all she ever wanted. And it's this scene where she walks through the hall and does not even say a word, but she's just the look on her face that tells the story of, I miss that. I miss that life. I miss being that person, is so tragic, but it's so fucking fantastically acted. I love it. It's one of my favorite scenes in movie history because she's able to tell all that story without even saying a word. And she gets the flashback of, you like me, you really like me. And, you know, being Counselor of the Week and how much that meant to her. To me, it's one of the most brilliant characters ever written. I love the Angela Baker character, and Pam Springsteen played it just so perfectly to me. I love this character. Always have, always will. I think it's the best. And I always say this, you know, if there was ever someone I could meet in the horror community, it would be Pamela Springsteen, because I would tell her how much this role meant to me as a horror fan, like how much I got into this role and loved it, and have watched these movies over and over again. It's not just for the funny one-liners. And like I said, there's a ton of them. Like, where'd you learn how to chop wood? I've never chopped wood before, but I've chopped other things. And hey, Angela, what's your favorite color? Blood red. They're like, good thing there'll be one less idiot in politics. And the one girl who's, you're a nasty, snotty bigot, plus you're real nice, lets her go, and the fucking flagpole death where the woman's brains get punched in. The rap, of course, the song, oh, I'm a happy camper, I'll camp until I die. Just great. To me, it's like, this could have been horror's biggest character, in my opinion. You know, and I will say this, and I think this will piss people off. I see a lot of the naiveness in this character that I do in the Kathy Bates Misery character. I definitely see a side of her that's naive. She doesn't want to kill people. I don't think she wants to kill people. I really think this character, what makes her psychotic, is she believes that she can make everyone else as moral as her. And I think that's so interesting. Like, usually it's like, oh, I'm addicted to killing, I enjoy murdering people in all sorts of ways. She's not. She's really not. I don't think she wants to kill anybody. I think she just wants to rid the world of the bad. And in her mind, what she's doing is morally sound. She's weeding the world out from the bad. I think it's a brilliant performance. I love Pam Springsteen. My favorite actress performance of all time. My favorite character of all time, and I think just deserving of this number one spot. I know it's more of a personal one. I know a lot of people won't agree, but for me, when someone asks best performance in horror, no doubt Pamela Springsteen, Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3. But that's just me. Let's see. My number one is Leslie Hoffman. Oh, yeah, that's right. I got to hear who that is. Haven't seen Sleepaway Camp 2 or 3, so I don't know anything about her performance. Missy, do yourself a favor. If you have Tubi, you can watch Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3 right now. Highly recommend it. I prefer Springsteen over Felissa Rose, but Springsteen would definitely be high up on my list. Okay, I'm glad she'd be on your list, because I know a lot of people would be like, what? She played the Hall Guard. Oh, so number one in the Hall Guard. That's an interesting pick for a number one. Screw your pass. No running in the hallway. Tom says Outhouse of Shit, Piss, and Leeches sounds like some obscure Italian horror movie. Fun stream, great list, all around great performance, except for the what the hell Octavia. Well, that was I know I probably should have went with Sissy Spacek there. Like I had her, but I don't know. I just part of me was like, you know what? Let me go. I'm gonna go fucking Octavia because I just thought that was a really good performance that nobody really talks about. But dude, I'd be interested to hear your list. Like I said before, if you're still here, man, really would like to hear your list. I liked the variety in this top 10. Yeah, I think that's the thing. I definitely had some variety. I had a Japanese actress, a couple French actresses, an Italian actress. You know, like I had a couple, mostly American, but I think you definitely had variety. One final girl in there. I tried to get as much variety in here as I could, but a lot of these roles are very important to me. Like I would say that like a lot of these are some of my personal favorites. So it's more if I was doing just a list that I would think the community would agree with, I think Jamie Lee would have been on here. I think Sigourney Weaver would have been on here. I definitely think those people would have been on here, you know, but I said, you know what, let me make it more personal to myself, you know, and the performances like this. So I did my best. Sleepaway Camp movies are great. I know you hate the movie, but Toni Collette and Hereditary could have made the list. I do hate the movie. I'd have to watch it again for her performance because I walked out of the theater and I remember saying she was really good, but I didn't like the movie. So I'd have to really rewatch. Maybe she was really great in the movie. I remember when I initially saw it, this is like 4 years ago now. And I remember walking out of the theater and I said, she was great, but I didn't really like the movie. So maybe that's like a hindrance. And I haven't watched the movie since that initial theater viewing. So maybe I'm due for a rewatch there. Great choices, Grande. Thank you, Mernsey. Couple fun surprises. Had my money on Ellen Ripley for the top 5. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry about your money. Please, you know, don't hate me. I don't know. Like, I definitely would be curious to hear all of your guys' top 10s because this was a fun stream. Yeah, I thought Sigourney was a deadlock for this top 10, Mernsey. Yeah, no, trust me, she was a thought. But I was just like, you know what? Like, I only want to do one final girl, and I like Amy Steele the best. So that's kind of where I went with Amy Steele. Yes, Toni Collette is incredible. I love Hereditary. Okay, Grande, you were wrong. Just kidding. LOL, no worries. Collette is fun to see in Krampus too. Let's see. The reason I picked the one I did because she's so powerful and yet she doesn't know what she's doing and then realizes and she changes. Okay, even Jamie Lee from Halloween. Yeah, no, I think she totally would have made the list if I had done like, you know, universal, like not as personal. I think she totally would have been on the list. What did you think of Jackie from Scream 2? Jackie from Scream 2, is that the Sarah Michelle Gellar character? And welcome, Labyrinth UFC Breakdown. Welcome, my friend. Hope all is well with you. If that's the Sarah Michelle Gellar character, I liked her. Jackie. Why do I forget her? Oh, no, she was Sissy in Scream 2. Who the fuck was Jackie in Scream 2? Is that Billy Loomis's mom? Is that just tell me who Jackie was, and I'll let you know. Oh, good brother James is here in UK. Just woke up in the middle of the night, kind of spoiled the ending. Sorry, but it'll be interesting when I get around to watching this. Dude, awesome, man. It's cool to see your name in the live. I know James sometimes catches these. He's in the UK, so he catches the replays of these. So thank you for the support, Mr. Abernathy. I appreciate that. Grande, what's a horror film you first hated then loved, and vice versa? Sorry to digress. Don't be sorry to digress at all. Horror movie I've hated but then loved. Blair Witch Project would be the first one that comes to mind. I first saw that movie. I was very, very underwhelmed. And I thought, I don't know. I didn't feel what they felt. I didn't see what they feel. I don't know. I just didn't feel it the first time around. And then I watched it again years later and I liked it a little bit more. And then again, years later, I liked it a little bit more. And it's one of those movies that every time I watch it now, I think the Blair Witch Project gets better and better and better. And I think their performances are all really good. You could have made an argument for fucking Heather Donahue. I know a lot of people would disagree, but fuck, I like Heather Donahue. I think she did a really good job in that movie. And I don't know, like, I would say Blair Witch Project. That's the one where I did hate it. I fucking saw it. I hated it. I was like, fuck this. And then on repeat watchings, I was like, wow. I was like, now I get it. Like, as time went on, I got the movie more. I was like, I get it now. Like, it's not about what you see. It's about what you feel. And that movie does have a good atmosphere. And I would say this too. The ending of that movie is so creepy. Even from the first time I saw it, the ending of the Blair Witch Project is just, it leaves you with the biggest chill down your spine. Even the first time when I saw it, I hated it. I was like, man, I wish that ending was in a better movie. I remember saying that after my initial viewing. And then as time went on, I was like, I actually think this is a fucking brilliant movie. So yeah, Blair Witch Project would be my pick for movie that I hated and then loved. And then vice versa, loved then hated. That's hard. Usually, if I love a movie, I generally don't go back on it. Um, Loved then hated. I'm trying to think. Let me come back to you on that one. I gotta have to think that one through. Yes, his mom, she played Jackie on Roseanne. Oh Jesus. I always felt that plot twist was kind of blah. Billy's mother, like I was like, like I remember I did a show way back in the day, and it was called Special Guest Booker with me, and I rebooked the endings and plots of certain horror movies, and I rebooked the ending of Scream 2, and I remember people at the time saying that my ending was a lot better than the ending they went with, and I was like, I think it would have been better if they had done that. Because my initial ending was it was still going to be Mickey, who is the Timothy Oliphant, and her friend Haley, which from what I've read, she was the initial killer in that. And what happened was the script leaked, and that's why they went with Billy's mother. I was going to have her be the killer, and then it was going to be its kind of thing where she says, Sydney, I'm jealous of you. You're the lead in the school play. You're asked for the fraternity. I live in your shadow. And tonight, me and Mickey, we get bumped up B-list to A-list, just like that, and we're going to kill you for it. And then, of course, I was going to have this whole finale where instead of a face-off, we were going to have horror trivia game to decide Nev Campbell's life, where Jamie Kennedy would be the hero. In my version, he'd survive, and he'd be the hero and play horror trivia for Sydney's life. And they go back and forth. And then the winning question would be a Wes Craven question. I thought that would be so much smarter than what they did in meta. But, it is what it is. She was okay, I guess. I don't know. I wouldn't say anything. I didn't like the ending of the movie. I liked Hereditary, wasn't blown away by it, but it's definitely a worthy modern horror movie. Okay, so definitely, I think that's a fair take. I know a lot of people love it. Like a lot of people say it's one of the best. Okay, here's Tom's top 10. Here's mine. Try to stay away from the obvious ones like you did. 10, Pollyanna McIntosh. Is that for the woman, Pollyanna McIntosh? If so, love Pollyanna McIntosh and the woman. Love it. 9, Lulu Wilson. 8, Kathy Bates or Linda Blair. 7, Rebecca Hall. 6, Vera Farmiga. I'm guessing that's going to be Rebecca Hall. But see, Rebecca Hall's in a lot of movies. Like, I don't know. Is that Dr. Sleep, Rebecca Hall? Vera Farmiga is at The Conjuring. I don't know. Like 5, Morfydd Clark. 4, Mia Goth. 3, Jennifer Carpenter. 2, Toni Collette. 1, Mylène Japone, who I've never heard of, which now I'm going to have to hear what movie that is for sure, because I don't know what movie that is. But dude, awesome list. I basically hated Blair Witch Project. The marketing is what made that film successful. And I think the audience thought what was being shot was actually happening. Definitely. Laurie Metcalf. Yes. Honorable mention, one of my faves, Barbara Steele. Love Barbara Steele. Dude, yes, I could too, man. The Black Sunday is a great performance. Also love Barbara Steele in a little movie called The Butterfly Room. Great stuff. She plays this person who she's murdering kids, and she's like stuffing these kids as if they were like taxidermy dolls in this butterfly room, because oh my God, it's a fucking scary movie, man. That was my guess for number 1, Murnsey. Oh, hell yeah. No, we gotta love Barbara Steele, man. I probably could have had Barbara Steele on the list. That's maybe a one to, I'm sure people were not happy with the Octavia Spencer picks, so it is what it is. But yeah, no, I had a great time doing this list. This was definitely a lot of fun. Enjoyed doing the top 10, female performances in horror movie history. Is a lot of fun. I definitely enjoyed doing this. And like I said, I'm always open to do more of these down the road. I tried to, like I said, I wanted to be as diverse, variety, and personal as possible. So it wasn't really a grand, this is what I believe the 10 best performances are, for everybody. This is kind of what I believe for me. So in that vein, it's a little bit more of a personal list and more subjective list. Mateo says I would have put Ellen Page, Sigourney Weaver, Linda Blair, Mia Farrow, and Sissy Spacek in my top 5. I didn't think of the Ellen Page or Elliot Page performance until you mentioned that. That's a fucking great pick. Elliot Page in Hard Candy is fucking great, man. And she's tortured the fuck out of Patrick Wilson and cutting his dick off and shit. That's a great fucking movie. I actually really mad I didn't think of that, because that's a great performance. I really enjoy that performance. Ella, definitely, she's undeniably one of the best. Great job, Grande, LLAP. Hell yeah, man. Thank you so much for joining. We'll be back next week. I'm not sure exactly what show concept I'm going to do yet. I have a lot of them in the bag of concepts I want to do. I initially was going to do the anime review of Junji Ito's Maniac Japanese Tales of the Macabre for this show, but I did a fan vote, and this won the fan vote. So I'm happy this won the fan vote. It seems like people are definitely pleased with it. So, okay, The Woman, okay, Hill House, The Awakening, Emily Rose. Oh, love Emily Rose. And Martyrs. Oh, that's the girl from Martyrs. Okay, that's a great fucking performance. Highly agree, man. Great list. Great episode, Grande. Cheers, everybody. Cheers, Sean Blue Digital. Everyone, cheers. Everyone, have a wonderful, safe, happy, healthy weekend. Cheers to you all. And we will catch you next time only on the Graveyard. Too Sweet Peace, and we'll catch you next time. Good night, everybody. Cheers to the ladies.